Hi everybody, I'm R. Sky Palkowitz, the delusional diva, and I'm here with
Randy Wicker, an old-time activist, 50 years in the movement.
And we're going to have a little conversation today and talk about a lot of interesting things. Randy, let's talk. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I just heard you sing this wonderful song, and I thought it was interesting that the woman named Mitch told you to shut up, bitch. And it leads to these things about role-playing and gender, which was very popular in the gay culture back in '58 and '60. And
that's right.
And you still have residues there, and I just wondered, you know, I love the mixing of genders. I think it's very interesting that homosexuals rise above the issues of gender, like, you know, that a woman would get off being called Mitch, and you would get off on being called bitch, which I don't think is true of heterosexual, which, by the way, there was a New York Times article that homosexuals had more equalitarian relationships and less issues, and it sort of indicated that a lot of the things that men and women think are rooted in sexual and gender really aren't. They're rooted in the social roles that we play.
Well, he's referring to my song, Long Island Lesbian, and in it, yeah, there's a character called Mitch. I said, hey, what's your name, babe? And she replies, just call me Mitch, bitch, and that really turns me on. I don't know, I like women. I like all different types of women. I like butch women. I like feminine women. I just like women. I mean, I like people, you know, and homosexuality, it is a really interesting topic, especially these days with the gay marriage law passing in California. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's wonderful that it's about time. I mean, it's one of the last barriers that we have. It's interesting because you get the mixture of religion and state. Like, it's the only thing that a church does that has a legal consequence. I think everyone there should only be civil unions granted by the state. Then you go to the church of your choice to have the sacrament of marriage. And that would solve, because people think you're going to try to force St. Patrick's to have gay weddings or lesbian weddings, you know, at the local Methodist or born-again Baptist church, and that's not what it's all about. It's just about having the rights to be recognized as being involved with another human being and to be treated equally.
And, you know, and Randy, you have a vast background in the homosexual community. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your first experiences of being the first gay person to ever even speak on radio or present themselves as a homosexual on TV. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, you're dating me. It was 1962, and they had these psychiatrists saying they could cure homosexuals in just eight sessions at $50 a session. And I went up to...
That was cheap back then.
Well, I mean, but still, it was a fraud back then, just like it is now. And I went up to WBAI-FM, and I told WBAI, we homosexuals are the experts on homosexuality. You know, what are these? These are frauds. And the guy said, well, you get together a panel of homosexuals, and I'll do an interview. I did that interview, and they did a blurb in the Journal American that said, a card-carrying swish went up to WBAI and proposed a 8-man or something panel, talk about all these, and I took this little attack, changed those letters to WSICK from WBAI, and I went to the New York Times and Newsweek magazine, and by the time I was through using that attack, I ended up with a full page in Newsweek, a review in the New York Times, a news story in the New York Times, and actually the Federal Communications Commission, they tried to take away BAI's license, and the FCC said homosexuality was a legitimate issue to be discussed on the airways, and that opened the door for homosexuals to finally have a social presence on the airways of the United States. Then a couple years later, I was the first homosexual to appear self-identified as such on the Les Crane Show in New York City, and I also was the first person to picket publicly as a homosexual with other people, half of them were members of the Sex Freedom League, against the practices of the U.S. Army excluding homosexuals and giving them dishonorable discharges.
And if you can tell, Randy is very shy and doesn't like to talk about his past or his self at all. But
I have a lot more years on me than you do. I mean,
you probably have a lot more to talk about. Yeah, yeah. Well, we won't discuss age because I know you don't believe in it, and neither do I. So, so how do you think homosexuality in the area of television, film, performance, theater has changed over the years? What do you think about it now in the year 2008?
I can't believe that I'm sitting here in a studio hearing you sing about Long Island lesbians, that we have a channel on TV, Logo, and we have here, and we have Gay Pride Day parades, and you know, that we're arguing about whether or not we're going to have publicly recognized marriages. You don't realize when I began, we were criminals, we were outlaws, we were not recognized even as a community. I had to argue that we were a minority when I went and talked to groups, you know.
Well, why do you think that is when homosexuality has been traced through history back to the Roman Empire, to the Romans, to the Italians, to, you know, to the Greeks? It was so natural back then. Why has it been such an issue over the last couple of thousand years?
Well, I think what it is, it ebbs and flows. Actually, in Germany, they were making great headway from 1890 to 1930 or 32, and then Hitler came in, and all the progress was rolled back, and they burned the gay archives there, and the movement there was literally suppressed. So that's something I think we really have to be aware of, is that our current position is always at risk, and it's something we always have to be careful about. Because, you know, if you're Jewish, you grow up learning about the Holocaust, and you know the dangers of anti-Semitism.
I'm Jewish, I know.
Oh, but anyway,
Yeah.
but gay people, they think there was always a Gay Pride Day parade. I know some gay people don't even know what the origins of the Gay Pride March every year in New York City
Why
is
don't you
about.
tell us, where did the Gay Pride Parade, when did it start, and where did it come out of?
Well, actually, it originated in Philadelphia. We were demonstrating every 4th of July for our equal rights in front of Independence Hall. And then after the Stonewall riots happened, a lot of people came down to participate in that. And they decided next year we're going to have a march in New York City to commemorate the people that stood up to the police, because they were raiding the last bar in New York City where there was dancing allowed. You know, it was not a legitimate bar, had no license, run by underworld figures and all that. But it was a spark. You know, we had raised people's mentality enough that, like, Rosa Parks wouldn't get up and give her seat on the bus. Homosexuals finally reached a point where they said to the police, you can't do this to us anymore. We're not going to take this anymore. And we had John Lindsay, a very good mayor who kept the police in check because they were discussing a civilian complaint review board. So when the Stonewall girls kicked their heels up and had their hair in curls, and we're the Stonewall girls, we wear our hair in curls, the cops were on their very best behavior. It wasn't like in 1968 when John Daly let the cops cave in the heads of the hippies who were hippies that were demonstrating at the National Democratic Convention. So it was a whole confluence of events, and it was not the birth of the gay movement. It was a moment that a small movement became a mass movement, was embraced by gay people in general.
And thank goodness things like that started. And you speak about that spark. Well, that spark happened for me in the 80s, the mid to late 80s, being a teenager and going to the gay pride parades in New York City. It was just an amazing 60 blocks of just proud Broadway shows and people from all different walks of life marching, millions of people. I just find New York Gay Pride to be the most riveting event in the country. And it was out of gay pride and being a kid and seeing all these drag queens, and then Wigstock being such an amazing event. They used to hold it in Tompkins Square Park, remember?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Back then, and we had people like Lady Bunny and RuPaul before she ever just started out, and Lip Synca and Jane County, and all these amazing drag queens and transsexuals performing with big costumes and glitz and glamour. And I think that's when I actually became initiated a drag queen. You know, I just love dressing up in women's clothing and impersonating people like Bette Midler. Oh, I'll never forget it, you know. And I always had a lot of drag queens who in the bars would tell me that I should be a drag queen. And I'd say, well, I can't be a drag queen. I'm a woman. And they said, oh, honey, nobody will ever know. Just put on more lipstick, more makeup, and, you know, who'll know?
Then you'll be a lipstick lesbian.
I am a lipstick lesbian. But
you don't.
I don't have an Adam's apple, and that's what gives it away.
We don't realize, I did a video called Russians March Freely in the New York City Gay Pride Day Parade and put it on YouTube. And it has about hundreds of hate spew. This is a disgrace to all Slavs. And they told me that it was the first time that gay Russians had marched in New York City. And of course they had their heads caved in when they tried it in Moscow. And that, it was amazing. It said the older members of our community are very reactionary. And my God, they hate, you should go to that thing, Russians March Freely in New York City Gay Pride Day Parade.
And that's on YouTube?
Oh yes, and it's voted most vilified, and this is a disgust. You people should all be exterminated. Faggots should all be shot. You know, this is unnatural. You're a disgust to Russia. You're a disgust to Slav people. I never even knew there was this identity called Slavs. You know, I don't know. I thought the Slavs were from Yugoslavia. I didn't think of Russians as being Slavs. I don't look at people as members of ethnic groups. You know,
Right.
That's the first thing I learned in New York City. I was from the South. I was used to being kind of a little bit uncomfortable around minorities, and I found myself in this subway one night when I was new to the city, and there were all these African American guys standing around, and I thought, oh my, you know, I might be in danger. And then I heard one of them say to the other, oh, Mary, you were too much in that bar. And I said, oh gosh, they're just gay like me. And I thought that was so wonderful, because it showed that the gay identity was more important and transcended things like race and ethnicity and religion and all these other categories that sometimes go at war with one another.
Yeah, people are people, right?
Right, right.
That's interesting. I remember being a kid or teenager and being at one of the local Long Island gay bars, and there were some people outside upsetting some of the gay men who were in the club, and I remember this man coming up and just snapping his fingers and in this guy's face, and he goes, honey, I'm more of a man than you'll ever be and more of a woman than you'll ever have. And I just sat back and watched, and I thought, now that's a good comeback. That's good. And I've used that many a time. But so interesting. So you have some stuff up on YouTube. Tell us the address where you can find
I'm the same everywhere. Randolfe, R-A-N-D-O-L-F-E, unique spelling. Randolfe Wicker, and that's my name, all run together on YouTube. And I'm Randolfe everywhere. I don't use screen names or pseudonyms or anything. That's my legal name.
Neato.
And I find it's very nice to, especially since I spell Randolfe, R-A-N-D-O-L-F-E, if you put that in as a search engine in Google.
They're going to come up with you.
Yeah, because there's only one deputy Randolfe in Italy.
Wicker.
There's some Randolph family that moved to Ohio at the end of the 19th century.
I hear. I'm with you there because I'm Palkowitz, an R-Sky Palkowitz. If you Google that, you're not going to come up with anybody else except me, the delusional diva.
How do you spell Palkowitz?
Palkowitz, a Palkowitz now, P-A-L-K-O-W-I-T-Z. But you can just look up Delusional Diva, youtube.com/Delusional Diva, and I have over 40 films there, including some archive material of me growing up on Long Island with green and purple hair.
Why did you give up the green and purple hair?
Well, I haven't completely given it up.
You're just a redhead now.
No, every month it's a different color. I was purple and pink, last month, so it changes. This is my conservative look. Yeah.
I was wondering why you wear 5 rings on one hand and no rings on the other.
Well, it's because
there's a ring on
I have one little ring here. I have 13 earrings in this year and only one in the other. I like to kind of balance the silver out. Like if I had it on this hand, I'd be kind of lopsided.
It makes you walk more evenly, right?
Oh yeah.
With all all the weight in this
all
hand
the jewelry.
and then the heavy jewelry here.
Crazy stuff.
I find the whole issue of gender, we used to think that trans people were a liability in the movement. Gay males especially are very transphobic. They are so upset about someone thinking they're less than men. And now with Trans America and Transgeneration on Sundance, it seems to me that transsexual people, by raising the issue of gender, it's actually separate from sexual orientation, because I have a friend who's now a male who began as a beautiful straight woman and transformed into being a gay man. Continued to be attracted to women, but went from being female to male, so went from being a heterosexual woman to being a gay man. And I think these kind of things are mind-boggling because it gets us away from those silly
labels and
neat categories.
Identifiers.
I hate neat categories. There are thousands of genders, and there are thousands and millions
thousands
of
of
sexual
genders?
orientations. Yes.
Wait, on this planet?
Of mixtures of male and female. There's an endless variety because we all, to some extent, are a mixture of both genders, but we're so busy trying to be, oh, God forbid, I happen to be wearing a women's belt and women's jewelry here.
Well, it looks lovely on you. Maybe you're a lipstick lesbian.
Well, I wouldn't mind trying, but I never liked lipstick, so I don't think, I'd have to use one of the real subtle tones, I could try getting cosmetic eyebrows. I understand they have tattooing.
They tattoo them, yeah. I don't do that. I like to draw them on every day.
Yeah, I don't want to have a facelift. At 70, I'm a little bit beyond facelifts.
You just gave away your age.
I don't care. I'm proud of my age. I'm a trans age person. It means I'm a young person trapped in an old body. And believe it or not, people actually that know me well take that at face value. It's true. It isn't just a term. And it's a term that some people get very excited about.
Well, I agree with you, Randy. Transgendered people are very interesting. I've known women who've turned to men and men who've turned to women, and it's always been a kind of interesting issue. I always thought growing up that I was a boy trapped in a girl's body, but now being an adult, I really love being a woman. I love having breasts. I love, you know, the whole. I don't like bleeding. That's really not, you know.
You know, you're still kind of young. I'm always surprised at how many trans people decide to transition in their 50s, and you're nowhere near that age.
No, so maybe I have time yet.
Yeah, there's still hope. There's still hope that you'll make a wonderful trans man someday.
No, I'd like to be a woman-loving woman.
But you can be a woman-loving. That's what I'm saying.
But you know what's interesting is that not just older people are changing their sexes, but younger people are doing it, you know, way, way earlier. I actually saw a documentary a couple of years ago about some kids in the Los Angeles area, 17-year-olds who are changing their sex. It was really, really interesting.
That's what transgeneration was about. Kids that were in college and they were transitioning. I think one was only 20 years old, and the family was very supportive.
I think it's a rough life, though, whether you have the support of your family or not. And it's great if you have the support of your family, if you can communicate and talk to them. But think about it. Before you're going to change your sex, it's not like going in and ordering an ice cream cone. It's like, you know, you're going to change your sex forever. Really think about it if that's something that you want to do.
The important thing is to be gender-free. Don't be so worried about, oh, I don't want to wear a masculine shirt because I'm a woman. If you're more comfortable and wear it. I don't want to wear, I wear a woman's belt that has studs and rhinestones. Doesn't make me look any less masculine. I like to be glamorous as a male, and I think women don't have to be tied up in pink ribbons. I mean, you're dressed kind of masculine.
I like to be
for
tied up
with
handcuffs
black.
And you know,
oh, you do. You know, I have a tie that has brass knuckles.
All right, now we're getting into a whole area of fashion. Let's talk about art and performance. What I do is I'm an avant-garde multimedia performance artist in Hollywood, California, and I do a lot of different things other than my music videos. I play characters kind of like Tracy Ullman, Lily Tomlin, that kind of thing. And I've done a lot of theater, from Shakespeare and classical theater to the avant-garde, working with Rachel Rosenthal for many years. Yes, and I paint. I paint
aliens.
I paint aliens.
This is an alien
I do.
I thought it looked strange. I couldn't figure out whether it was male or female.
And it's genderless, because the aliens, they're, you know, like on our planet, there are thousands of genders, according to Randy. But
millions, according to the founder of Sirius Radio, who happens to be a trans woman. Has fathered children and then went on to change her sex, and she's one of the founders of Sirius Radio.
No idea what you're talking about, but that's great.
No, some trans people have incredible careers and made incredible contributions to our society, and a lot of those probably are not known. Because in the past, what it was, they thought some historic figure in the Civil War or something was a man, and then when the man died, they discovered it was really a female.
Like Mae West, wasn't she really a man?
I don't know. She certainly had a sort of a man sensibility. You happy
I don't want
to
to
see me?
spread
Is that
rumors.
a gun in your pocket?
Is that a gun in your pocket? Are you happy to see me? Come on, I want to do a character called Sky East. Where, you know, I just say things like, additional parking in the rear.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Anyway, so talking about art and performance, who do you think are some of our voices of today that are really making a difference in the area of sexuality, homosexuality, transgender?
I'm not a big fan of most gay music, but I love Adam Joseph. He has a song called Faggoty Attention, where he comes on to this boy who's straight and says, you know, come too close and I'll take you in. You can take me in my home and slap me around because you know I'm not a woman. I can take it like a man. Kind of a little bit too role playing, but still it was very charming the way the whole video was done, and it's been pretty popular. And he's actually a talented musician who graduated from music school and actually has a degree in musicology and writes his own songs. And I'm sure there are other people. I just tend to be into Japanese pop videos. I have this weird refuge on the other side of the world. I just love Japanese pop and Japanese rock. That's my refuge in life.
Well, what about in theater? Do you know of any writers or playwrights or things that are actually happening now in New York, Broadway? Charles Busch, for instance, Tony Kushner, things like that. Who are some of your idols and some of the people that are really making a difference in the area of theater? Any ideas?
To me, film sort of began and ended with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Am I dating myself? I mean, to me, that was just so liberating because I've always liked feminine males. I used to say to people that there is such a thing as a male woman, and after the Rocky Horror Picture Show, they couldn't. And then there's what's the name of the song where she sings a song by her father's Phantom of the Opera? Is
that a gay play?
No, but she sang
They do wear makeup and masks a lot.
Yeah, but she sang a song at her father's grave, And actually, it made me resolve to dig up my own father and move him to Congressional Cemetery and rebury him to honor him after his death, because I realized, hearing her talk about her father and sing this song about her father, it made me realize that we all owe so much to our parents, and most of us have not had the experience of being parents, which gave us a great advantage in life. That's why so many gay people are affluent. But then when you get older, you have to be careful because you don't have the kids or the family support that a lot of heterosexuals have. So anyway, that's just sort of off the wall. I just thought Phantom of the Opera was the one thing I've seen on Broadway. Chicago was okay. I've been going to. When I was young, I went out with a reviewer from the Dallas paper, and he was the theater reviewer. So I saw My Fair Lady, West Side Story, Mame, and about 2 or 3 other, all in 1 week. I didn't know what theater was. In 1 week, I probably had the greatest series of theatrical experiences you could have in the 60s.
Neato. Neato. And what about, so we've talked about music, we've talked about some musical theater as well, art, my art, alien art, Keith Haring, things like that, Basquiat. Haven't really talked about Basquiat, I'm just throwing names out.
I like fashion. I'm a transgender fashion activist because I'm working on, I'm wearing kind of plain clothing today, but I have these outfits where I put on gold buttons and braids and put a feather in a hat and, like I say, mix. You know something people don't realize? Smart, young, gay kids, something that they know because they're free enough, is if you want a pair of jeans that fits you well and you've got the figure, you know, you're a 28 or 30-inch waist and, you know, you're at that age when the curves are right there, you go to the women's department and buy your clothes because they fit you better. And you know what I do? I sometimes go to the women's departments when they're having sales and I'll buy a bright, beautiful woman's shirt, roll up the sleeves. The only thing is the sleeves aren't long enough, but no one knows it's a woman's shirt. They say, she has a beautiful shirt. And I say, yeah, you know where and I tell them, it's a woman's shirt because today we don't have any beauty. The only place there's any color in men's clothing is in the boys department. Once you hit puberty, it's all over. You know, if you take, unless you're size 16 all your life, which not many males are.
This is a wacky guy. You're a wacky guy.
I'm wacky.
Your fashion design statements by Randy Wicker. It's great to have your fashion advice.
Transgender fashion activism.
When you have the opportunity to wear the other gender's clothing, do it. Make a statement.
You're doing it right now, whether you know, because it's dark. I talk about the black, brown, blue prison and male gender. You're dressing, I mean, this looks like kind of a masculine outfit.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that it's wonderful that you feel free enough to dress like with shorts and sneakers that are kind of masculine, and that you're not, you know, that you're not tied up in pink ribbons.
No.
You might be wearing lipstick, but
I
it's
had
a dark
pink hair
lipstick.
once, but yeah.
Well, but still, it doesn't matter. You're beautiful the way you choose to be, and that's what I think is really important. That's what I really want to fight for the next few years of my life is transgender fashion, gender-free dressing. Be free to be yourself and be beautiful in the way you see yourself.
In whatever you're wearing.
Right.
You are beautiful.
Right.
Just the way you are.
You make yourself beautiful. Don't be trapped in black, brown, blue prisoner of gender if you're a male, and don't be tied up in high heels and bright pink ribbons if you don't like them and you're a female.
So Randy, we have just a couple of minutes more. Tell me, do you have anything you'd like to ask me? Anything, any other topics you wanted to discuss or talk about?
Well, I mean, what is your, do you earn a living at what you're doing? Do you have any big events coming up? Any movies we might see you in, or have you had any discrimination when you tried out for some big role in some Hollywood major film or something because of your other work as a lesbian singer and such?
Well, it's very interesting. I'm pretty out in the community. I definitely do songs that are homosexual oriented. I do characters. For instance, if you go to YouTube and you want to watch some of my films, you can see a character called a dyke called Sue. Dyke called Sue is a very touching character. There's also Fatima, who's Fatima is a Pakistani Indian character who's come to America to find the woman of her dreams. A great little short film on YouTube.
You wouldn't find it in the Middle East. You have to come to America.
No. And there's even a Mrs. Claus where I play Mrs. Claus who's come out of the closet, left her husband because Mr. Claus, Santa Claus.
That has
no,
to be
you gotta
a mistake
check this
because
out.
you're too young to be
Well,
Mrs. Claus.
I
Mrs.
can
Claus
play
has
age.
gray hair.
That's true. Well, there's a lot you can do with wigs and makeup. And
With
if
that
you
pretty
check it
young
out,
face?
oh yeah, I
Really?
put on wrinkles, and I'm a British Mrs. Claus, and I've escaped the North Pole.
There was a movie about Mrs. Claus a few years ago.
This is the
I
one
have
you
it.
have to see, though. It's called Santa Doesn't Do It Anymore. Check it out on YouTube. You don't have
Not
to wait
even
till
with
Christmas.
Viagra?
Well,
Viagra doesn't work for Santa?
Claus he's been hanging out and jerking off with the elves and futzing around with the reindeers who are all dykes.
I disagree. I just think we should be liberated enough to leave a Viagra pill out for Santa along with the cookies, so
Viagra for
Santa
Santa.
can have,
He'll never stop
some
flying.
fun too.
Well, yeah, Santa has been having fun, and that's the whole premise of my film. You have to check it out. And also, I do music videos. You can see vacuuming bees out of the ceiling, a touching story about my father battling with bees in the ceiling. And,
they're going extinct. I hope it wasn't.
bees,
I hope your father doesn't kill the last living bee.
No, they were actually yellow jackets. Anyway, so lots of information, lots of things you can watch on youtube.com/delusionaldiva. You can also look up Randolfe Wicker, Randolfe, and check him out. Google both of us. See the different things we have going on YouTube. MySpace.com/SkyVideo.
And leave comments. Don't be like every 99 out of 100 people watch. They don't leave you a rating. They don't make a comment. You wonder.
Make good comments. Spread
or even
love.
Bad comments. I like
Email your
criticism.
friends in Morocco. It's been great seeing you. Thank you so much for joining us in this crazy half an hour talking with Randolfe Wicker and me.
It's been an honor to meet a delusional diva.
Yes.
I mean, I've been waiting this for all my life.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we finally got to do it.
I am too.
And tune in again. We'll check you out sometime soon.
Right.
Thanks for joining us.
We love you.
Peace, and be who you are, dress how you like, and smile whether you're wearing lipstick or not. I'm the delusional diva, our Sky Palkowitz.
I'm Randolph Wicker.
And thanks for having us in your living room.